Okay, good evening. We're going to look at another question today, which goes this way. Where did the Old Testament believers go when they die? Or where does the Old Testament believers go when they die? Where did Old Testament saints or believers go when they die? That is what we are going to look at. Before Jesus came, the Bible says that Jesus is the way, the life, and the truth. Let us read this place. John. Let us read this place. John chapter 14, verses number 6. John chapter 14, verses number 6. Jesus answered, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. So, if you look at this chapter and verse, John, the Gospel according to John chapter 6, the verses, chapter 14, verses 6, it says that Jesus is the only way to heaven. He is the only way. You cannot go to the Father except you pass through him. So this one is sometimes, some people always say there are so many ways of going to God. There's no other way. Jesus is the only way. So without Christ, if you're on earth without Christ, there's no way that you say, me, I will go to heaven. So you cannot go to heaven without Christ. No matter how good you are, no matter how powerful you are, no matter how rich you are, no matter how anything that you are, but without Christ, you're not going anywhere. Good. We are not going to talk about that. We are going to look at where did they go before Christ came. Because by then Christ has not yet come. In the Old Testament, Christ has not yet come. So where do they go? Okay. In the Old Testament, we have something we call in the Hebrew it is called the Sheol, and then in the New Testament we call it Hades in the Greek. So the Greek is the Hades, and then the Sheol is the Hebrew. Forgive me with the pronunciation. Sheol, S-H-E-O-L, Sheol. That is the Hebrew, and then the Greek is the Hades. It is under the earth, the heart of the earth, and it is called the place of the dead. That place is called the place of the dead, both for the wicked and for the righteous. It is for both the wicked and the righteous. It is called Hades. So the Hades is for the place of the dead. By then, before Christ came. So if you die, you go to the Hades. But the Hades is divided into two. We have a place, one side called place of torment, and that place is called the hell. That is the place of torment. That is called the hell, or you can say Gehenna. If you read, I think, Mark chapter 9, verses 45, you see there. It is hell, or the Greek is Gehenna. So that is the place of the torment. Hell or Gehenna. Okay, good. And the other part, we said it is divided into two. And then the other part is also called a place of comfort. A place of comfort. Or it is also called a paradise. A paradise. If you read, I think, Luke chapter 23, verses 43. I think the place where Jesus was on the cross with the two thieves. The other thief said, remember me in your kingdom. And he told him that today you will be with me in paradise. In paradise, there he didn't say he will be with me in heaven. And also remember that when Christ died, he didn't just go to heaven straight. No, he was buried and then resurrected and roamed on earth here for 40 days before he was ascended to heaven. So the paradise there is not heaven, even though sometimes the word paradise can be translated heaven. But remember that when he died, he didn't go straight to heaven. So it is also called heaven, place of comfort. It is also called paradise, the place of comfort. Or Abraham bosom. Or Abraham bosom. It is also called Abraham bosom. If you remember Lazarus and the rich man, that we are going to read it. We are going to read the story, and we see the story of the rich man and then Lazarus. Let us read Luke chapter number 16, verses 19 through 31. Luke chapter 16, verses 19 through 31. Okay, I read. It says this way: There was a rich man who was dressed in purple and fine linen and lived in luxury every day. At his gate was laid a beggar named Lazarus, covered with sores and longing to eat what fell from the rich man's table. Even the dogs came and licked his sores. The time came when the beggar died, and the angels carried him to Abraham's bosom. That is the place of comfort. That is the paradise. Good. Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried in hell. That is the Gehenna, or the place of torment. In hell, where he was in torment, he looked up and saw Abraham far away with Lazarus by his side. So he called him, Father Abraham, have pity on me and send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, because I am in agony in this fire. We will not read all the places, but that is where we are going to stop. You can read till the ending. So what we are saying is that before Christ came, no one could go to heaven. If you were a believer and you die, you go to Abraham's bosom and rest. That was your resting place. That's the place of comfort. Like this man, rich man, and then the Lazarus. You see, the Lazarus went to a different place, and then the rich man also went to a different place. So the Lazarus went to Abraham's bosom. So before Christ, in the Old Testament, the Old Testament saints, when they died, none of them had access to heaven, except those that God took them miraculously, like Elijah was raptured miraculously, like Enoch was taken miraculously. Except those two people, I don't think those who died, and they didn't even die. The Bible tells us they didn't die. Enoch was not, but was taken. He did not see death. Elijah didn't die. He was raptured. So these two people, they didn't even die. But those that died, Abraham, Solomon, David, and the rest, all of them, none of them was having access to heaven. They were all in Abraham's bosom, in that place of comfort, that paradise. So that was where these people were until Christ came. It was when Christ came, the way giver, the one who is the way, he was the one who now made the way for them to heaven. So that is the place that the Old Testament saints, when they die, that is where they go. So they always go to where? They go to the Hades, and the other side of the Hades, that is the paradise. So the paradise is divided. We said it is divided into two, place of comfort and place of torment. So the place of comfort was where the Old Testament saints go. The Old Testament saints used to go to the place of that paradise. So that was where they go. So if you also read this place, you see that Psalm 6:5, Job 14:13, Genesis 37:35, Psalm 16:10. You see the place of comfort where these people go. So the Old Testament saints, that was where they go. They go to Abraham's bosom whilst waiting. So none of them was qualified to go to heaven. They were there waiting until Christ came, because Christ is the way and the truth and the life. Thank you for your time.